Hi, this is Tony DUrso, and you're listening and joining me with Brad Zolas on Awakened Nation. And we're going to wake up to a couple of great things on marketing, branding, and how I got to 50 million downloads in 10 years. Stick around because this may help you grow your business a lot faster. Let's begin.
I was going to
Molto
say,
bene. It's perfect.
hey, how you doing, Mr. D? It's a
Uh, uh,
pleasure. A huge shift is taking place on planet Earth. People seem to be waking up. Tired of the way things used to be, they are creating something brand new and changing the world we live in. My name is Brad Zolas, and I get to sit down with the next generation of idea makers, the disruptors, and the game changers. Everyday people just like you and me from all over who are doing amazing things to Awakened Nation. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a good friend on today. He is the host of his own show, the Tony DUrso Show. Dude, it is an honor to have you on Awakened Nation. Welcome to the show, Tony.
Thank you so much, Brad. I've known you for a few years and I love what you do and your work. And it's an honor to be on your show and to speak with your listeners. And I really hope to give them, I'm really intending to give them some very good marketing, branding, and social media tips.
Thank you, brother. I'm looking forward to it as well. If you don't know who Tony DUrso is, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to introduce him. Tony DUrso is the host of the Tony DUrso Show, a globally ranked podcast that hit number one on Chartable worldwide in 2024. Now surpassing, listen to this, folks, 50 million downloads. Known for interviewing elite entrepreneurs and iconic leaders, including Jack Canfield, Wesley Snipes, Kevin Harrington, me as well, and more. Tony's mission is to bring valuable strategies to help others succeed in business and life. Tony is also the creator of the Vision Map, which is trademark. We're going to talk a lot about that today. A system to turn your dreams into reality. From a 3-decade corporate career to a media empire, Tony's journey is proof that resilience, strategy, and storytelling can redefine success. Welcome to the show, Tony.
Thank you so much, Brad. It is quite the honor to be here. Thank you for interviewing little old me. I sincerely appreciate it.
You bet, brother. I love the guests you have on the show. I love your style, by the way. Ladies and gentlemen, if you listen to any other podcast, please listen to Tony's. Because his questions are honest and it takes you on a journey with each entrepreneur that he's had on the show. And you've had our good friend Max James on as well. And to pull those stories out of people is a master craft, I have to say. So I want to go back to the beginning, brother. How did you get started with this? And secondarily, did you ever think it would grow into something this big?
To answer the last question first, I never expected any of this because now to answer the first question, I started all this with a lot of pain, aggravation, agony, and frustration. I had let's see, where do I start? I was the VP sales and marketing of a company. I had started with some other people, and after about 7 years, I was the VP sales and marketing. And I learned a lot more about lead generation and
Hmm.
promotion and how things went back then, which is very different now. And I had the opportunity to have my own company that specialized in lead generation. So I took that opportunity and I did that for about 7 years. And Brad, what happened during that is we had these highs and lows. And give you a good case in point, one day on a Monday, I go into the office. One of my clients canceled. I was doing $1 million a year in sales on this one client. I had multiple clients and they canceled. Okay, now what? What happened?
Yeah.
Well, another federal regulation came down, another protocol, this is the way we have to do things. And they had to retool their marketing and so forth. And so it happened with all my clients. And just again, for the fourth time in 7 years, We were brought down to our knees due to new regulations, protocols, just like when we had the craziness a couple of years ago where the whole world kind of shut down. I had
Yeah.
it 4 times in 7 years and I got tired of it, Brad.
Yeah.
And I started looking for what can I control myself and be remote, be anywhere I want, and be able to provide a service or a product to people and not be so impacted by the, let's just call it the whim, the political, social, economic whim or flavor of the day or something,
Yeah.
some prevailing wind that changes it all. And Brad, I kept hearing this word called podcasting. I'm like, what is a podcast? What is this? And when I found out it was an epiphany. It was, hey, I'm Italian. I can talk. I can do this.
And we need to have video on you so we can see your hands. Hey, how you doing?
Yeah, my hands were thrown up in the air. I had never spoke. Well, I had spoken on stage before. I had spoken and done different things. Nothing with entrepreneurs or business people, so to speak. But I
Hmm.
had spoken a little bit. No radio career. No, I didn't know any elite entrepreneurs. A term I used, perhaps I coined it. I don't know. 10 years ago, people at the top of their category. It's just a very simple elite entrepreneurs, people that basically they run, control, or own their category or segment or sector.
Hmm.
And and I didn't know any. I didn't know any of these people. I mean, so what was I thinking? I learned a little bit about podcasting very quickly with whatever was available, and I did the Italian thing, Brad. I jumped in with both feet and I just started. I got a mentor who was a radio. Uh, we back then we called them DJs. I don't think they're called DJs. A radio announcer, a radio
Right.
personality, who gave me some tips here and there and mentored me, would listen to a show and give me critiques, which was phenomenally helpful.
Hmm.
And I started using everything and anything I could think of it through my promotion, marketing, corporate career. And I learned a lot of things. And there have been so many changes, enough that would have taken any show down on its knees multiple times. But podcasting has a certain resiliency. As long as you can speak or talk or move
Hmm.
or throw your hands up in the air like an Italian, you can get people's attention and you can communicate something. And I did something I don't recommend. If you're going to podcast, I don't recommend this. I started live 1 hour a week and I didn't know what I was doing. So I don't recommend that until you know what you're doing.
Uh-huh.
But it was everything I did was always a learning experience, Brad. And here I am 10 years later. I learned a lot of stuff. We're going to talk about that. Yeah, 50 million downloads later, number one chartable worldwide podcast, number one last year. I'm there on the records, I'm there on their charts. I've done a lot of things, and we're going to talk about it. It's been quite a ride.
That's incredible. And those of you who are listening in for the first time on this, and you want a podcast, I would listen to Tony because my first season, Tony, I had bought this wonderful mic. And of course, the first three interviews, it didn't work, even though I had tested it forwards and backwards. And I just, everything that can go wrong will go wrong. And I don't know about you. I listened to my old interviews and oh my God, did I talk too much? I just couldn't believe it. What have you learned through the years? Let's go into that.
You're right about, if you go back 10 years to your first shows, you're such a different personality than you.
Yeah.
There's so many changes. We could do shows on just the differences. But I am still learning how to engage with people. I'm speaking with millionaires and billionaires, people that own their category. I'm talking to very high level people. And I've learned how to engage with them, how to communicate with them, and get and extract, if you want to use that word, good answers and stories of how they've made it. And I've learned how to interact with people at all levels. And I don't mean anything by that. You know, we all go to the store, we all go or have gone to the movies or shopping. We interact with people there. And I've learned how to interact with owners and people that, you know, extremely exclusive. And you just kind of, if you're in that zone where you're interviewing them, you start developing how to have a good, proper communication where when you're done, this person is your friend. This person would
Yeah.
take your phone call if necessary. Not that you're going to phone them, but it's that sort of a level of respect. And I think that's one of the biggest things I've learned.
Yeah. I love that when a guest comes on and you get them to open up about something they almost never get a chance to talk about. They do. They become your friend because they're just blown away by your interview style, which I love your style, by the way. Each good podcaster, and I mean successful podcaster who's doing this, has a particular style. And you can't actually say, well, that person's like this person because we're all so unique. And I see that with you. You have this very slow, meticulous way of pulling the story out of people. And it harkens back to what was it? There's this great radio host, Coast to Coast. Do you remember?
Yes,
Art Bell. Art Bell could weave a story through the interview. And you're kind of like that. You know, you pull this out of people and they begin to tell the story, and then you add to what they're saying and bring out even more. So I love that. I'm going to show an example of Tony's podcast real quick. You ready? We're going to roll the tape. Here we go.
For our audience, Max built a billion-dollar industry. That says volumes in itself. If you want to generate, if you really want to get into it and get some enormous success for your business, I recommend that you listen to him carefully. Soak it up. We're going to start this off with getting fired. Max, what happened on the farm when you were 13?
I think that probably was the first time I ever got fired. I grew up following two gray mules on the farm back in West Tennessee, plowing behind the back end of two gray mules. And finally, I guess Dad had a good cotton crop one year or something because we got a tractor. But I didn't get to drive it until much later. Finally, I grew up enough that Dad said, go to the field, get on the tractor. So I did. So I'm out plowing in this dusty field, and the tractor stops. So I know a little bit about machinery, not much, but so I tried cleaning the carburetor. I cleaned the spark plugs. I checked the gas, so we were running out of gas, and I could not get it started. I look out across this dusty old field, and here comes this beat-up old pickup truck bouncing across the field with my dad driving. And sure enough, I said, you know what, this is probably not going to go good for me. So Dad gets there, and he said, now what the hell's wrong? I said, Dad, I don't know. The tractor stopped. I've done everything I know to do. I can't get it started. I burnt my hands, getting inside there, trying to clean this up. He said, get out of the way. Oh, boy, so I'm happy. So I get out of the way, and sure enough, guess what? About 5 minutes later, it's running just fine. So he turns around, he looks at me, and he said, I want you to remember this. Stay away from that wheelbarrow if you don't know anything about machinery. So that was about, I guess, the level of expertise I had on machinery. That changed over time, but not a lot. It certainly changed when I was flying helicopters. I had to know a lot about that machine. So anyway, Dad turns to me and he said, look, you need to just get out of here. You're done. I'm firing you. What? And he said, yeah, you need to go to town and get a job in town. Get off this farm. And I said, whoa. Who's going to take my place? And he said, that's not your problem. I'll handle it. So that's what happened. I got fired and I went to town and I got a job in a dry goods store. And I even got a promotion from there into a men's haberdashery. But the point Dad made was, it sunk into me, at least at that point in time, and it served me well, Tony, over a long period of time. If you're not liking the job, and I hated the farm, if you don't like what you're doing, you know what? You probably are not very good at it because you don't put the effort, the time, the expertise that you need into it. And so that has served me well over all the years. If you're not very good at what you're doing, you probably need to get another job.
And if you're not very good at it, you're not very happy at it, and you probably are wishing you wouldn't be there anyways. So sometimes getting fired is just like it's what you would expect. It's actually a good thing.
It turned out, in my case, to certainly be a good thing, and it was a great lesson from the best mentor I've ever had in my life, and that was my dad.
I love your style, like I said, but I'm blown away by the caliber of guests that you get on, and you do. You say elite entrepreneurs. If you're a business person, a business owner, an entrepreneur, or you want to be an entrepreneur, I recommend Tony's show, the Tony DUrso Show. But what guests, maybe there's more than one, that kind of blew you away? Like you were expecting one story and you got this other story and you're just like, whoa, that's kind of mind blowing.
That's a little tough to answer after interviewing hundreds and hundreds of people for 10 years.
Yeah.
I can say that there's a whole story behind how I even got these people, how I even met them, which we can answer separately. But to answer your question, sure. What surprised me the most, or what interview would you say really captivated me the most?
Yeah.
That is such a tough question because I zone in on every interview. So every interview I do, every person I speak with, I'm there with them. Even though we may not necessarily be there in person, I am there with them, right, listening and following every point and engaging with them in their story to such a point that when I'm done, I usually feel that I just did the best interview of my life. And I say this so many times to my wife, who asks, how did the podcast go? And I said, this one was just the most amazing interview. It was the best I ever did. Mm-hmm. And I feel that because I pour everything into it. I'm not into it for the numbers or to get a quick story or move on. I want to know about you, Brad. I want to know about you. I'm curious, and I'm very, very curious, and I'm very interested, and I ask a lot of questions. If you give me a moment, I can start coming up with some people, but everyone is so unique. How do you pull out if you have 1,000 bars of gold in front of you, how do you pick out which one you like the best?
That's true. It's very true. Well, maybe I'll make it a little easier for you. How did you get Wesley Snipes, and what surprised you about him?
Wesley Snipes happened to be, I was invited to a gala event, G-A-L-A, in the Los Angeles area to work what's called the red carpet. And I didn't know what that was. I just knew I was podcasting. My podcast then was the Revenue Chat Radio, which was my first podcast. And so I went there and I learned what it took to work the red carpet and meet people. And here comes Wesley Snipes eventually, wearing a hat and a suit and huge shoulders that just go right off the screen. I mean, his shoulders were huge. He's a little shorter than I am, like 6'2". But his shoulders were the shoulders of like a boxer or a fighter. Yeah. It's just humongous. And he came looking great with a hat, and he stopped in front of every single person and stood there for as long as they wanted to answer their questions. And I was very impressed at how pleasant and nice and personal and personable both that he was. And he said something that, God, if I had just a moment, I would think about it. But he talked about he said something that stuck with me, and I'm just trying to remember what it was. I'm just trying to remember. I was impressed at his profoundness, that he wasn't just saying words. He was speaking very literate. He was speaking. Right. That's what caught me. It was like, I didn't expect that. I've seen all those movies, but here he was very well spoken. So that's what came across.
Yeah. He is a sharp guy. I mean, he really is. I haven't met him in real life, but I love all his movies. He's played. My favorite is Blade, obviously. I went to see that when it opening day. I got out of work early, went down to the theater, got my popcorn and soda, sat in the 10th row, dead center, at a matinee at like 3, 4 in the afternoon, and been a fan ever since. But he is, when I've seen him in other interviews where he's just, he's like Terrence Stamp, really sharp. And you're just like, you're not going to get a canned answer. Let's put it that way. I love
And
that.
speaking of that, I did listen to the interviews as he went down on in front of me and after me, and he never said those same words again. His answers were totally different. In other words, he didn't say the same thing to every interviewer.
Right, right.
And it was just great to do the photo opportunity with him and so on and so forth. It is somewhere in the gala. If you go to my podcast page and search, there's a search feature. If you search Wesley Snipes, you'll find it and you'll find the interview.
Good. Fantastic. How about Mr. Jack Canfield himself? How did
Jack
you meet
was
him,
great.
and what was that interview like?
Jack was great. Jack was, I didn't expect it. Here's someone who, with Mark Victor Hansen, wrote a book that had been sold over 500 million copies.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was in awe, and he was so pleasant and smiling and happy to just be there, give me all the time I needed, answered any question. When you meet someone of that caliber, they're gracious. You notice this. It impacts you. It's like, this person is spending all this time with little old me and answering and giving everything to me as if I'm on some level even near what this person has accomplished. And
Right.
he does that. It's like he allows you to be on that level. If it's coming across right. And
Sure.
it was just really nice to speak with him. I loved it.
I've noticed that with people who have achieved their goals, that have done what they set out to do. They're humble, they're gracious, they spend time with you. And I've tried to get a few other celebrities on my show, and I can tell the ones that haven't reached where they want to reach because they're snarky sometimes, they're not nice. They're looking at me like, well, who are you to ask me? It's like, well, I've had some pretty famous people on my show. You might want to take it down a notch with that ego. This is a chance for a comeback sometimes for them. And I just find that interesting. And I think that is a point that you can look at when someone isn't really secure in what they've done and what they've achieved. Usually they're kind of not nice. And I love the fact that people like, Jack Canfield, Wesley Snipes, Max James, they were able to come to your show and just really share a chunk of themselves with your audience. It's almost soul to soul when they let their hair down and they're just sitting there going, you know what? I went through struggles too. And here's what I went through. And I love those conversations.
For anyone that's podcasting now in the audience, what Brad says is just hits home. It's so powerful. When the person has accomplished something, Max James, for example, they're not anxious. They're not, like a horse at the gate waiting for the gate to open. They're comfortable, relaxed. They've accomplished a lot. They're still working on accomplishments. They're working on new projects, but they know where they're at, and they're very comfortable. And that really comes across. I didn't expect that when in interviewing the elite entrepreneurs. I didn't expect that. And in some of my videos, interviews, where I do take on people rising for various reasons, they've got a great project or something that really hits home with me, and I bring them on the show. There is a very notable difference between that type of a personality and the caliber of Max James, Mark Victor Hansen, Jack Canfield.
Yeah.
But it's okay. They're all good. They're all telling stories, but
Yeah.
you just get to notice it. So it's just an interesting point.
I've had a few people who wanted to be on the show who couldn't go deep. Like they would avoid going deep. With everything they had, they would fight it almost. And I feel that when we can go deep, we get the very best interviews. I've had Dog the Bounty Hunter on, and he was talking about, he had a malignant tumor, I believe, removed off of his skin. He was crying. His wife had just died. He was worried, and he got this sort of epiphany. And to hear him talk about that, you just kind of go, "Are you kidding?" Did you have a guest that had like that cathartic moment where it's just like, they were down at the very bottom and they suddenly they had that epiphany where they could do something great?
I don't think I've ever pulled that out of a guest so much as one particular lady. You must excuse me. It's been,
Sure.
475 interviews ago. But she had accomplished a lot. And if I scroll through my list, I would remember, but perhaps it's best I don't mention her name. She had accomplished a lot. She was doing very well, very bright. She had some good points, but during the time of the interview, she had hit, or so it seems. I hope I'm not making this up. This is how it's coming to my mind. She had hit some walls, and you could tell that she wasn't doing currently so well as she used to. And she was looking to grow and get people to know about her. And during the interview, which really surprised me, was she realized I helped, perhaps there was a spiritual side of her that she kind of had pushed down or didn't work on so much. And she realized that working more spiritually, connecting to God, was probably one of the first times ever I've even mentioned God on my shows. And she just started to brighten up, and she felt more on purpose of what she was doing. It was really, really good. But I don't want to embarrass anyone and mention it, because this is my view of what happened, as opposed to, if you listen to it or watch the video, you may not see it that way.
Right.
But it was really nice to unfold. And I felt even more spiritual and connected as a result. It was like, it was good. It was one of those podcasts where you kind of, you've changed something.
There's always a shift. There really is. This is my favorite part of interviewing people. They come with, because they've probably done 100, podcasts, or maybe they've done 20 podcasts. Then suddenly they show up on my show and they have their canned answers ready. And all of a sudden, and you do this, you pull them off that road they're so used to being on into something a little deeper. And I love that. I've seen that on your show. You did that with Max a few times. You did a series with Max, and we'll put that in the show notes. You can check out Tony's interview, Bouncing Back. He has this great series where people have failed, and this is how they come back. But
if I may, we did, I don't know if you just mentioned, but Max and I did a couple of interviews together. We have a YouTube channel, like 10, 11, 12 videos. But the one thing I wanted to mention on that is that when I interview anyone, I've interviewed you, because I think, I could be wrong, because I really zone in and this happened with Max, and I've also interviewed his wife, Linda Johansson James. When they're talking, I find some part of what they're saying that I relate to so deeply that I put myself in that world. For example, when I was interviewing his wife, I used to have a store. I used to have a store in Los Angeles that literally got destroyed in the Northridge earthquake, 1994, January 1994, whatever the date was.
Right.
Forgive me for the date. But I had a store, and she and Max as well dealt with retail and kiosk. And so I lived that. And so I was able to, and I've done this with a lot of interviewers, a lot of interviewees, put myself, I've written a book too, or I've been I'm a store owner too. And I start looking at it from that point of view and asking questions. And I'm able to do this deep dive that I didn't even realize was possible until we started doing the interview.
Did you always have the sort of gift for gab, or the gift of connecting to people? Did you always have that, or did that come out as you're doing the podcasting?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I think I've always been a personable person. I'm the type of person 50 years ago, standing in line. Next thing you know, I'm making friends with everybody as we're waiting to go pay for our stuff at the checkout. So I'm just
Right.
that, I've always been that type of person. I sometimes say, well, it's because I'm Italian. I can talk. People get a laugh out of that. Perhaps that's part of it, but I've always liked people and I've always uh, had a very strong, really strong, I mean, severe point of view of letting people be themselves.
Yeah.
And when I'm able to do that on an interview and bring that person out, I just love it. This is my joy in the is to pull out this story.
I always love calling you, hey, Tony D, how you doing? It truly is. You do have this gift, and it comes across on every show that you do. And I think that's the magic sauce that good podcasters, great podcasters have in spades. They're curious about the story. They put themselves in the shoes of their guest, and they can identify in that moment and say, hey, that's relatable to me. And also, I think this is the fourth one, and I think this is huge. You listen like the audience is listening.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I when I interviewed you, I'm listening, looking for marketing and branding. You're a very well-known and polished author, and I'm
Thank
looking
you.
for any nuggets that I can. So I'm not just asking questions to pass time.
Right.
Thankfully, I've never even had that idea until just now in answering your question that that's a possibility. I'm interested. I like to know on behalf of my audience listening, how did you write that book? How did you become the 50th? And I still remember the statistic on you, the 50th uh in the top 50 list of business books, Liquid Leadership. I remember
Yeah.
this is like, how did you do that? Well, as with anything, it's not one step, but it's like learning
Oh,
all this.
it took years. Took getting kicked in the teeth, business wise, learning, building a business, realizing that a new generation was coming along that didn't want to obey the rules. So, what were the new set of rules? So I just put that out there, and evidently a few people liked it. So, thank you. That was a surprise for me. I actually didn't know that had happened. I wound up in the top 50 of organizational leadership books because I don't have a background in organizational leadership. That's what's so funny.
You do.
Yeah. I just find that podcasting has made me better, and I think it's the same for you because I have had a chance to work with you personally as well through Max, and that we've had conversations outside of just being interviewed, and there's a gentleness and a going with the flow that you have as your innate nature, and it's a beautiful thing to see in business. I got to tell you. So my hat's off to you, my friend. You have a really great style of working in life. Let's put it that way.
Thank you so much. I, being inside here, don't see it, and I'm grateful that to hear that somebody likes my shows or somebody likes my interview style.
Yeah.
I'm glad to have you as a fan. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Well, we're all hustling, to make a living and do art projects and things like that. And I just wanted you to know that, I see the professionalism that comes through. And yeah, you're a joy to work with, my friend. Just so you know.
Thank you.
I wanted to get into this, and this is your vision map. You want to talk about this? I mean, I'm a huge fan, and it will lead up to this, folks. For those of my fan base that listens to the show, they know I'm into manifestation. They know I'm into changing my circumstances, whatever that is. But there's so many tools out there, like The Secret. We've had a couple of the people from The Secret on the show. For some people, it's frustrating. They can't make things happen. How did you start to realize that you kind of had a system for helping to manifest things.
When I first started my podcast about 10 years ago, and I didn't know anybody, I didn't know how to do it. I had no radio experience, etc. The first guest that I was bringing on introduced me to the famous radio personality that gave me critiques, and also mentioned a book called Beach Money by Jordan Adler. So I got the book, which chapter 2 and 3 was just absolutely amazing. And I tell this a story, I exaggerate, like thousands of times, maybe that many, because it had such a profound change in my life. To give you, to take the mystery out, chapter 2 or 3, Jordan Adler is a complete total failure. Now, Beach Money, by the way, when you read a book, this is must from now on for the rest of your life. When an author comes out with a book and narrates the book him or herself, you must buy that. So that's what I got on Jordan, because you hear their inflection, you hear them telling their story, and every once in a while they say a little bit more, but you get it so differently than words on a page.
Yes.
Well, Tony, dives in, and I'm like immersed in the world of Jordan. He's a failure, no money, no life, no house, no spouse, no girl, no, just failure. And he goes to the park basically to kind of cry, and he decides he's going to write out his vision. And he writes, and I explain this, so I'm just going to kind of, it's hard for me now after 10 years to tell you where Jordan left off and where I began, so forgive me. But he writes what he sees himself doing in the future and how he's doing it, and he writes out his future. And comes back home and every so often, I think he says he would look at that paper and put it away until one day he forgot all about it. Fast forward a couple years later, Brad, one day he's moving, and Jordan Adler in the move sees that piece of paper, and he pulls it out and he reads it. He's moving. You're in the middle of a move. You know how chaotic that could be. You're rushing.
Yeah.
He gets down on the ground and he starts crying. He was reading that paper that he wrote in the park some years ago when he was a big failure. Why was he crying? What happened? Well, Jordan Adler was moving to a brand new home. He had the girlfriend of his dreams, the love of his life. And back then, Jordan Adler was making $100,000 a month.
Wow.
Profound. And that really hit home with me. And he brings up other things on goals later in the book, very short. I seem to think it was short. I could be wrong. And it really hit home with me. Now, let me add some more to this, because I'm giving you a piece of pie, and I'm going to give you some whipped cream and cherry and sprinkle of nuts and stuff on there. You've all heard of this term called vision casting. You've heard of people like Bruce Lee, Arnold Palmer, Chuck Norris, Jim Carrey. They all, and many others, talk about vision casting, where they see and imagine their vision. Arnold Palmer is famous for saying he visualizes where the ball's going before he steps out on the tee. Chuck Norris says he was visualizing his kicks before he even started. So there's a thing on vision casting, which many people do very, very successfully. Fine. Tony, that's this guy here, in reading all this and seeing all this, realizes it's not complete and it's missing points, because you in the audience, John and Jill and James and Joe and Mary and Beth and Annette, and you could write a good vision and then go sit on your couch and open up a bag of the best potato chips you ever had, watch movies, and be done with it. So what Tony here, this guy here, is saying, just having that vision doesn't do anything all on itself. I've got a car in the driveway, Brad. It's beautiful. I love it. But it doesn't do anything unless I get it and drive. So I worked out 7 steps. I think it's 8 steps. Sometimes I get confused which is which. 7, 8 steps of the vision map, which I call a map because when you go on vacation, has anybody, raise your hand if you're in the audience because I'm going to see it. If you ever gone on vacation and you say, everybody hop in the car, pack a bag, hop in the car, let's go. And everyone says, where are you going, Dad? Where are you going? Whatever, Bill or John or James. I don't know. This way, South Dakota, New York, I don't know. You don't do that. You have a map. Hey, we're going to go see Mount Rushmore. We're going to go to New York. We're going to go to Chicago. We're going to go somewhere. You have a map. You know where you're going. You're not saying, well, let's go to South Dakota. Let's just go down this street. Let's go down this street. Let's go down this street. You don't do that. Of course,
No.
Tony, don't be silly. Nobody does that. And Tony says, well, don't do that in your business. Don't do that in your life. Don't just run out there, which we all have. I'm raising my hand. Run out there and start something and expect it to go. Don't do that. You need it. You need to know your purpose, which comes number 2. There are people with more money and more notoriety, perhaps, that may say the opposite. And I can explain the words that I'm saying, why purpose is number 2. After you've worked out your vision, you need a purpose. And the vision is like a long, broad step.
Mm-hmm.
And a very simple way, if I may explain it, is the way I've modified it is you sit down and you're like a child. A child dreams. A child plays making a movie. You're pretending. You go into the future and then you turn around and you look back and go, I just started podcasting. What did I do? Well, I interviewed all the famous millionaires and billionaires in the world. I wrote 5-time best-selling books. I got 50 million podcasts, downloads. What did I do? And that pretend is your vision. Now,
Right.
You didn't come up with your goals and your strategy and your why you're doing. You just started. That's why I say it's the first thing is your vision, because your purpose, your being is who you are. It already propels and creates that. Jack Canfield, and he can call me up on the phone. He knows my number and he could tell me if I made a mistake in speaking for him. But he didn't just write a book with Mark Victor Hansen, say, this is going to sell 500 million copies. Okay, great. I'm going to just go take off. He obviously had saw his vision and,
Right.
and worked on it. Obviously, he was propelled by it. And back to that car is my vision, because that car in my driveway right now can take me anywhere I want to go in the continental United States, in South America as well. I can go to Alaska. I can go in Canada. I can go anywhere in the Americas right now. I am broadcasting live from the Americas right now with you. That's great. That's my vision. I can take that. And not a perfect analogy. Please don't call me on the carpet and say I made a mistake. The purpose, why you're doing it, who are you, what are you being? It's like the gasoline. It's a great analogy. It's not perfect. The gasoline, that purpose helps you go faster on the freeway. You can go from 55 to 60 miles an hour by putting on the gas. So I kind of like that analogy of my gasoline. That's my purpose. That's who I am. Now, the vision is what I'm doing. Okay, that child pretending, I'm podcasting, and I'm interviewing millionaires and billionaires. I'm doing this. I'm doing it. There's no joke. I'm doing it. So that's the vision. D for doing. The purpose. Why? Why? Who are you? What's the reason for it? That's who am I being? I'm an educator. I am a podcaster. I'm a doctor. I'm an attorney. I'm an accountant. Who am I?
Mm-hmm.
And that comes underneath the vision, because it just works that way for me. And again, you could reverse it. There's people that say do it the other way, which is, I understand. But for me, it works that way because once I have figured out what I'm doing as that dream, I'm talking, this is all play acting right now. Now I tied it into my purpose. And there's like 7 steps. And I worked that out because I realized I've been to university. I've learned a lot of things on marketing and branding, and I started putting it all together. I took from Jordan, I took from wherever I heard, and I put together a vision map so that you can drive to the Mount Rushmore when you want to, because you know where you're going to go, or to New York because you have a map. And I'm giving
Right.
that away free, by the way. There's no charge for it. I have a book coming out, but the map, the guideline, the road book, that's totally free uh, on my newsletter page.
Where do we go to get this vision map?
A simple way is Tony DUrso.substack.com. Tony DUrso, that's my name, .substack.com. The newsletter is free. There's a column there that says join free. And then you go to community resources, and right there is the vision map. You can download it. I give some other things away free, chapters of books and so forth. And it's totally free. And because you're in the community, you can always say, Tony, what about this question? Shouldn't purpose be first? And we can have a dialogue. I'm happy to talk.
There you go. He's making himself available to you folks. Get in there, dive in there. Don't be shy. If you're having trouble manifesting, I suggest you get your roadmap ready. Fantastic. Go
really
ahead.
fast. The map helps turn your vision into reality, which is why I put the map together.
Yeah.
So you can actually accomplish and work towards accomplishing something. So 10 years later, you look back and you go, wow, I did that. Look at that.
There is a component to it that you just kind of mentioned, and that is you lay it out and then you kind of forget about it. Set it and forget it. And I found that that's a piece of it, because we've all had a glimpse of this, folks. We've all had a glimpse of this. A person pops up in your mind and you're like, oh, I haven't thought about them for years. And you forget about it. 2-3 days later, you run into them. We've all had that experience. Now, was that precognitive awareness? Is that you manifested running into them? What was it? This is kind of, as I like to put it, God has given us what we call our creative, our ability to be creative. I believe that's a God-given tool. But here's the bigger tool. We've been also given the ability to manifest what we can visualize creatively. And this is part of our divine blessing. I believe in this. God, in the book of Genesis, God created earth and the heavens and everything else. He gave us that ability. And if you don't believe that, just look at your life right now. The problem we have, and Tony brought this out earlier as we we're discussing this, when he was talking about Jordan Adler, is we weren't taught that this thing is probably the most important part of creating the life we want. So our head hits the wall like Jordan's did, where he's broke. And then you have to figure it out. Tony's giving you the tools right here, right now, my friends. Don't be shy.
Very
Go
well
get it.
said. Very well said. And you can pick it up and start working on it yourself. And you know some pieces. Let me tell you this. Every single person listening to this right now knows these words. You all know the words. So don't let this all go over your head particularly. Because if I said to you right now, and I'm going to say this to you right now, sugar, milk, cream, salt, vanilla, chocolate, you know those words too. Okay, I dare you, go into your kitchen right now and bake me the best or one of the best chocolate souffles I've ever had in my life. And I must tell you, I've been around the world hunting for best chocolate souffle. So I kind of have an idea of what they're like. And you're going to say, Tony, I'm not a chef. I don't know what these are like. I said, well, okay. Well, you know these words: vision, purpose, strategy, tactical. You know some of these words, but I go deep dive and explain them. And then it makes a very big difference. Very big difference. So really study these from that point of view, and it can really help you out.
It's a big spiritual thing that people don't talk about, but you did today, my friend.
I'm so glad. It honors me to say anything about that. And since you brought up Genesis, I can say that I've been doing a very, let's call it a very unique, I don't know if that's the right word, so forgive me, Bible study with where we don't read, we zone in what's happening at the time.
Yeah.
Every verse by Matthew, what happened? Who
Yeah.
are these Pharisees? What do they do? What are they like? Who are the scribes? Like real deep dive. What was going on at the time?
Yeah.
And it changes everything from a one-dimensional verse to a three-dimensional story you're practically living. And that's kind of what I'm saying with the vision map and other things. You take things from just a two-dimensional to a very deep three or even four-dimensional type of understanding.
It's a type of immersive learning, I feel, and I'm with you. I'm the same way. My mom, when I was a little boy, bought me the illustrated Bible because I was this kid that loved to draw and paint, and I'm visual. And so whenever I read the Bible and I talk to people about certain verses and things, you have to realize that this particular time, it was 1100 years after they left Egypt, and now there's a Roman occupation of, the land, the Holy Land. What was going on at that time? How were Jews being treated? Who were their enemies? Things like that. And once you get enriched into the story, you start to realize, oh, there were certain limitations that they had. There were certain things they had to do. There were certain things where they just weren't allowed to do that. So you start to be immersed in the piece of history, which I love. That's awesome. I love that you do that. Tony DUrso, my friends, reach out to him. He's offering so many things. Look up the Tony DUrso Show. Also, don't forget to go to tonydurso.substack.com. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And join his Substack. Phenomenal wisdom from a friend of mine. Please, he's a friend of the show. Please reach out and take advantage of these offers. Get your map. It'll help you. And I love the fact that you're doing the vision map. But you also have some books coming out that I saw that were mentioned in your one sheet. Let's talk about that, because these are kind of epic adventures, and maybe seem to go off in a different direction for you, but this is a part of you.
It is a big part of me that I didn't realize at the time, Brad. Quite some years ago, a very close friend, associate, came to me with a very good idea. And I thought it was great, but it was a story, a fiction story. And I was becoming known as a nonfiction author. And I thought, and the protocol or the understanding back then is you don't go from nonfiction to fiction. You just
Right.
think something you don't do. I was advised not to do that. So I stayed away from it. But I thought, because I think on my own sometimes, I'm grateful to God for that.
You're an independent thinker, is what you're saying.
Then I thought, well, if there's a co-author on the book, which there is, SKR, if there's a co-author and with me, then it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. So I went out with that premise, and we created a series called Iman of Atlantis. Volume 1 is Bitten. And we worked out and developed it. And the Tolucan Times, which is the entertainment newspaper or magazine of Hollywood, the Tolucan Times, they loved it and wrote that it's a unique world in the tradition of Tolkien. And I thought that was really nice of them to say they love the story. And I will tell you that for Tolkien fans, it has a lot of the medieval lore in there, if that's the right way to say it.
Yes.
There are no dragons and there's no rings of power. This is a story that happened in Atlantis, and I found on old maps in the center of Earth, in Middle Earth, the center of Earth.
Yeah.
Mercator map has a 4-island continent, and today it's just water on Google Maps. And I thought, this is great real estate. So I can put Atlantis there because nobody else has claimed it. So I said, poof, you are now by Atlantis. And we put the people there and started developing this story, which is very Tolkienish. And there is an essence, a semblance of bad, evil, magic. Magic is bad, evil, sorcery, witchcraft, and then there's divine power. God is always stronger.
Yeah.
And they're not involved, but there are people who have access or utilize these. And we've put it in this sort of a medieval type Tolkienish setting, just because when you work out characters, if you are a fiction author in the audience, you know what I'm talking about. You work out a character, Bill and Bob and Joe and Sammy and whatever, and you start giving them characters and personalities, and their antics, their story starts writing itself because that's the personality of the person.
It is.
It is. So
dialogue as well becomes
yes.
a lot easier when you have mapped out the character's nature, and where they come from and what their goals are and their vision, things like that.
If that's the right word, protagonist, Bomo. Bomo is a very, very big person. If you shook hands with him, it's like your hand is in the paw of a grizzly bear. It's like he's so big. And we gave him you wouldn't know this from the book, but we gave him an English Cockney accent. And so when when you read what his dialogue is, what you're doing, I'm not going to give you that accent, but it's like, what are you doing? But so we started giving everyone these personalities, and
it's great.
It brings them to life. There's 3 books out. You can see them if you're watching the video right above my shoulder. The 4th book is going to come out later this year. People are loving it. It's a book hit #1, Brad, in multiple countries. #1 on their charts in some category in multiple.
That's extraordinary.
Yeah.
Dude, you know the guy who wrote The Martian? This is how he started out. It became a movie with Matt Damon. Yeah. And here's the description that caught me: a fantasy adventure of myth, mystery, and power. Roni, a guardian of a mystical land, faces a forbidden connection, a looming ogre, and a stranger whose memories could change her fate and the world's. Yeah, that's great.
We haven't said much about it, but I can say that Roni is an Iman, which the people of the land, as it is today, sometimes things just kind of disappear out of mind. They become whatever they are. They become legends and myths and old wives' tales and stories. And it's like the Iman don't exist, Well,
yeah,
an event occurred that brought Roni to the land of Karen, where some people witness an Iman and the power of an Iman, including the ability to turn things into gold. And that sets off a story nobody expected, a chase nobody expected, a rivalry for powers, and all sorts of things. I mean, sometimes some important incident changes everything, and you're in for a journey when you read Pursuit, which is volume 2. Bitten is volume 1. Pursuit is just nonstop chase. I love this series. You could tell.
I love it too. I'm going to pick it up. I want to read this. This is powerful. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Tony DUrso, thank you for being on Awakened Nation, my friend.
It's an honor to be here again. Thank you so much. I hope I gave some good information to the audience to help them in doing whatever they want to accomplish.
Absolutely. I'm not going to let you go yet, though. I have 3 questions in my lightning round. I always ask.
I'm not prepared, but go ahead.
You're not supposed to be. With everything you do, my friend, all the books, the podcasts, everything, is there something that you do or you're passionate about that we don't know about?
Yes. Next question. Question number 2.
Yeah, what is it? Can you share it?
Yes, I can. Question number 2 now. Question number 1, since I was about 6 years old, when I was 6 years old, we're Italian. I've mentioned that we went to parochial school, which is basically learning a religious school.
Yeah.
It was a Catholic school. And I did that and learned a little bit about Catholicism, but it was very incomplete. And I went on without even realizing it. and spent the rest of my life as, call it a passion, studying religions. I've studied multiple times all the religions of the world that I can find. I'm talking about Buddhism and Protestantism and Lutheranism and why, and Martin Luther and why, and studied the Jewish religion and just studied every religion I could. And I don't know anything. I've studied for so much, I just don't know anything. Buddhism, I mean, I was big on Buddhism for a while. In terms of immersed, going
Yeah.
to ceremonies, reading books. And again, I am not an expert, so don't call me up and say, Tony, please give us a dissertation on Taoism, because I am not the expert, but I studied it and I really got it. And I'm always looking for, what's fascinated me is there's one God, there's one divine entity that created everything, yet there's so many different factions. Let's use that word.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why? How come? What's the real story? Why are there disparate stories? Why are there over 200? Did you know this? Over 200 different Bibles? Why?
Yeah.
Why? Why was the original Bible in Greek? So any question that's answered opened up more questions, and it's one of my passions that I love to do um, is just study and understand what's happened and why.
You and I have a lot in common. I also went to Catholic school, and I asked so many questions. The nuns put me in the corner, and I wasn't asking to be a jerk. I wanted to know where they got the story of Thomas, or, whatever. It wasn't in the Bible, some of what they were talking about. And I was like, well, where'd you get that? And I would get paddled and put in the corner, stop asking questions. And to this day, I am more of somebody who seeks out the esoteric instead of the dogmatic. I want to know things, including some of the stuff that you've included in your book about Atlantis. And, now suddenly the North Pole has just water up there.
May I just say, for a disclaimer, the book is not religious.
Oh, no.
The beginning of the book explains the divine nature of the Iman and why. In like what's the word, a forward? Just a
Yes.
beginning before the book starts. And the rest of the book just goes on. It's not a religious book. But there still is evil there and there still is good there. So if you want to
Yeah.
say good and evil are religious, so be it. Those not
Well,
characters, but those forces
yeah.
are there and inherent, but it's not a religious book. Your
No.
5-year-old can read it.
It reminds me of Star Wars. Star Wars is not a religious group, although there is religion in it, and the Jedi Order could be considered a religion. It really takes a look at these tropes that we have in our society and our archetypes that have been there forever. There is good and evil. How do we deal with that? Joseph Campbell's, going into the cave and facing that which you do not want to face. Things like this. This is all the hero's journey, and it's beautiful, and it's in your writing. My second question. What are you manifesting now? Is there anything you want to share with us? Because you're always manifesting. When you reach the next goal, you look for the next one. Am I right?
Oh, in terms of where I'm going with my podcast or my life,
Life,
what's in
everything.
the future?
Yes.
Well,
Yeah, either one.
I'm going to
Life,
answer that question.
What's that?
I said, I am going to answer that question.
Okay.
Where I'm going next is divine. That's where I'm going next. I have this insatiable desire and passion, if you want to use that word, to find out the truth, to find out what made us, how were we made, who made us, why,
Right.
to understand these points. And I don't want to be silly or facetious, but I can say with 1 billion trillion% fact that no, excuse me, I said that wrong. That once upon a time, nothing existed, and then it exploded, and then life came. That just didn't happen.
Right.
As you look at things, that just didn't happen. And what did happen? And it's just like with podcasting and everything else, it's a journey, and it's rewarding, and it's full of passion and understanding. And when you get an answer, you have more questions. And for me, I see, and I say the word hopefully, a new level, a better understanding, a better Tony who understands better what's going on. That's what I'm looking for.
Beautiful. That is beautiful. I like what you said. My last question is, do you have a favorite memory you love to revisit?
No, I don't think so. Just whatever happened in the past week. And I'm not trying to be facetious. Childhood memories, since some people may go to their childhood, I can't say, because it came up in my mind. Living as a child was, to me, in my mind, was a struggle. And you could read about my childhood on my About page at TonyDUrso.com. It was a struggle, but when you get past that and turn around and look back at what did I just do? What did I accomplish? You find it inspiring, to work 10 years as a paper route boy and give every penny to your parents to help support the family. You don't think about these things as that you're doing something even altruistic or noble. You're a struggle because you don't have the shoes other people, you have holes in your shoes, you have holes in your pants, or whatever's going on. And it's a struggle. You never wind up, at least in my childhood, you never had everything that you could possibly want. Kids had bicycles at 6, 7, 8 years old. I didn't have a bike until 10 years old, which I needed for my paper route. So it was always a struggle. I always wanted, but when you look back, you go, wow, I persevered. I accomplished something. And it was actually a listener of mine brought that to my attention, and I unpacked it even more as a result. I was surprised myself.
That is powerful, Tony. And like most people, we don't look at ourselves in the same light as others. I see that as such a powerful learning lab for you as a child, but also it talks about the gentleness of your heart. You were helping the family. You were doing all this for a purpose, a bigger purpose than most people probably ever realized in your school. And God bless you, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. You're welcome.
I love it. Quite the honor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You bet. Ladies and gentlemen, please reach out to Tony, the Tony DUrso Show. Fantastic. Also, we'll have the notes in for going to his Substack account, and you want to get that map, that vision map. Thank you so much. Once again, Tony, I am honored that you are on Awakened Nation today. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, sir.
You bet. Hey, everybody, don't forget to tune in next week. We're going to have another extraordinary guest here on Awakened Nation. Until then, please like, subscribe, comment, please leave a review. This is how we survive here in the metaverse. And once again, until next week, bye-bye for now. Thank you so much for being a big part of the Awakened Nation movement. This is how you can help me and our extraordinary guests. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe and share this episode out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And let's grow this movement by word of mouth. Our success is because of you. Thank you, and see you next week.